The combination of Pisces Venus following after Pisces Saturn transit, what it expresses is, have you loved yourself enough to give yourself what you know you deserve? The riddle of that is that you should attain it not through entitlement, not through entitlement, but in being that which attracts it. I'm going to start out by saying this, and then the discourse will expound. You can't create anything beautiful with anybody if the foundation of you being with somebody is control, attachment, and sexual addiction. Intimacy is not defined by these things, and we were supposed to learn that. We were supposed to learn through the number 9 being applied through isolation that self is sacred. Solitude is what preserves all that is sacred about you. And when we make habit of interpreting intimacy as you being sexually addicted to someone, maintaining constant attempts at control of another person's emotional output towards you or for you, farming emotional abundance out of someone by force or coercion, using the other person as a means of hiding away from the work that you know you owe yourself from solitude, using the other person as a pet, a security dog, a whoopee cushion. None of this defines intimacy. Saturating each other with loads of emotion. Overwhelming. We are there to share in a space that we intentionally declare as safe, sacred, secretive, and honorable. And it's supposed to be an opportunity of being a means of console for each other, repose, mercy, to defend the vulnerabilities, faults, and imperfections of each other, to raise the awareness of the good in each other, and to also hold each other accountable with mercy, gentleness, and good intention. There's supposed to be a connection by which our emotions and our identity has a means of being watered, nurtured, advocated for, and enlightened mutually. Can you see intimacy without sex? Can you understand intimacy without a bunch of fucking. It's a spiritual synastry where the spiritual faculties of one and the other, it becomes one. It becomes one, but without control. It becomes one through freedom, not entitlement. Let's consider Pisces Venus transit. Pisces is where we relate to love in a spiritual conviction. And that spiritual conviction, it has everything to do with the ability to recognize beauty in a spiritual sense. It also has to do with perceiving our reality through compassion and empathy. This combination, it leads straight to love. However, to get to love, we have to go through truth. And it's truth that gives us the undoings, that strips us of those blockages in the ego or the spirit, that allows us to incorporate the sensitivity, to read compassion through our empathy and compassion through memory of what we ourselves suffered. And we're able to see the humanity, the limitations, the weaknesses, the struggles, the suffering in others because of that. What we just passed through concerning Saturn for 2 years, or 2.5 years to be exact, it gave depth to our ability to love through suffering. It gave us depth in being able to love universally, without discretion, without discrimination. We have access to that if we allow ourselves to. Love becomes exalted because of this, and Venus is what allows us to now incorporate this into our reality. What is love supposed to feel like? What is it supposed to look like? And most of all, what is it supposed to accomplish? That is the biggest thing. What is love supposed to accomplish? Intimacy is also exalted because we got to the truth of what we were suffering. We got to the truth of what burdens we were holding before we learned to allow ourselves the humility to confess of what we were suffering or longing for in the spirit, seeking it out in all of the wrong ways, looking for love in all of the wrong ways. Intimacy becomes greater when we can trust ourselves, and because we can trust ourselves, we can afford to trust others. Intimacy is also exalted in the simple fact that we're able now to have connections because we learned that we're not here to attach to others or assign our spiritual responsibility to our inner world onto others, or to project that negligence onto others as demands. What will our world look like with exalted love? What will our world look like with exalted intimacy? Well, That change starts with you locally in your world as individuals. And as we learn to expand it through allowing others into our life to share it with, that's when it becomes our collective reality. Love is inspirational. Intimacy is rejuvenating and healing. It is therapeutic, and it allows us to endure far more in life painlessly or even with pain in a tolerable sense. We become agents for each other of counsel and peace, healing, and the reminding voices, the reminding presence that we are never alone if we should decide to stand on the side of love. We learn not to reduce love and intimacy to immature behaviors of toxic cycles, violence, accusations, implications, and the infliction of injuries upon each other. We got to humble ourselves and think more true, as Saturn did mature us through 3 different phases of Pisces, first decan, second decan, and third decan. Your 12th house is now going to come alive. The 12th house is where we have a particular spiritual gift to offer to the world. Our spiritual gifts, that is the estate of the timeline of Aquarius Pluto. And this being trine to Cancer, Jupiter, our calling is here. And through re-identifying ourselves with love and not transactional realities, corporate ambitions, consumerism, arrogance, narcissism, and desensitizing ourselves in order to stand at the top of skyscrapers, we've come full circle with undoing that catalyst that we all learned from since Neptune first entered Pisces. At this point, our interests, our intentions, our hopes, our aims, they should take a color of domestic interests, family interests, collective interests, and deeper bonds that roots in culture. I reference culture because culture essentially is necessities that leads to a legacy of traditions. Culture shows us what we did to survive. It shows us what we did to thrive. It shows us what we did to maintain our dignity, our joy, our celebration of life, our resourcefulness, our interconnectedness, and our ability to honor each other and to take pride in reverencing the wombs that bore us all from whence we came, i.e. our ancestors especially. So we are in the middle of renewing culture as we found and renewed our commitment to the 4th house in Cancer, matriarchal source and foundation. Understand that. And this is the turning point where we're at. So I announce to you all, nothing is more important than relationships right now. And nothing will remain more important than relationships. Not your career pursuits, not your job status, not how much money you make. Don't listen to the wrong people. I warn you. Come out of that spell. Come out of her. Come out of that ideal. Come out of that thinking, of that thought process. Come out of that. Especially those of you who fell victim to feminism. Come out of it. Come out of that corporate spell. The value is in the water trine. The estate is in the water trine. And this is status correction that's founded on that substance. So the time is here, and Venus enters Pisces. With Venus entering Pisces, we owe some reflection to what it took to get to this point concerning those Pisces themes of the Pisces Saturn 2.5 year transit. If you think back over the past 2 years, along the line of those themes, of course in context to where you have Pisces in your natal birth chart, Saturn wanted to make sure that we were equipped not to be robbed, not to be oppressed, manipulated, controlled, or subjecting ourselves to the familiar, inappropriate powers, authorities, assumptions, and entitlements. And that is over our most prized estate in us. And that prized estate is the vast waters of our compassion, our love, our empathy, our sensitivity, our care, the softer nature of us that really wants to unite with others, that longs for acceptance of some kind, inclusion, to feel cherished, loved, and celebrated. The part of us that lives to romanticize something that is beautiful. A beautiful experience, a beautiful event, a beautiful creation, beautiful environment, and beautiful persons in our life that we want to appreciate and cherish. And with this natural longing that we have, we can easily become exploited when it comes to that. Taken advantage of and manipulated. It's your estate. It is your estate. There were 3 different phases where Saturn would go direct, and retrograde, and direct again. The first direct motion exposing us to the awareness of where we failed to have boundaries, accountability, where we assumed ourselves where we might have been victims of some sort. And then looking a little closer in the retrograde of Saturn, we get to reflect a little bit and see that consent has always been with us. And the experiences that we pass through, no matter how undesirable or disappointing We were co-creators, consensual co-creators in the outcome of those experiences. We got into the habit of learning that surrender and confession was a part of how we move forward from such experiences. And a confession that we wouldn't suppress or deny what we realize, but we own up to it, bring it out in the open, with ourself, confess with ourself. There's something about this pattern. Why do I keep going through this? Why do I keep experiencing this over and over again? How do I get under the foot, the gavel, the chain of someone's abuse and tyranny? How do I keep getting here? The confession usually comes at a point of realization where the soul wants us to learn something, see something. And the soul has its own way of using our flesh as useful idiots of its own mission. Where you think that you have one intention, you think that you have one idea, but really what's happening is the soul is getting you to create the classroom by which you will learn. And there goes the karmic assignments in these three phases of Pisces. In the retrograde, we got to reflect and realize internally that this is where it was all coming from. And that becomes a point of confession. When it goes direct motion again, we start over with the same experience, but with awareness and empowerment. That empowerment of being able to name what we're doing, what we've been doing, what we've been in the habit of doing, the undoing of the self, the self-sabotage, self-infliction. What is it that you're really getting to when it comes to Pisces? What we're getting to is asking ourselves the question, why do we not feel that we deserve freedom? Why don't we feel like we deserve freedom from such crisis, torment, abuse, shame, guilt, troubles, losses, pains, and suffering? Why don't we feel worthy of a different outcome that's more productive and liberating? And we could find clarity in that if we referred to our 12th house. And there you will see signs, you will see planets and aspects that express exactly what it is that you feel you don't deserve. What is the illumination of the energies of your 12th house, the aspects, planets, that placement, the illumination, the positive aspects of that? And where did it begin? Where you accepted the idea that it's not what you deserve. When it's presented to you, you sabotaged it. You set it on fire. You ran away from it. You corrupted it, complicated it, denied it, justified an escape and exit from what was forming around you to bless you. And in the observation, there's no way I could deserve this. There's no way that this could be for me. There's something to them. No, I don't, this can't be. This could be in the blood for most of us. Pisces, in the blood, inherited from our forefathers, generational curses. Somebody had to break the cycle. And there were 3 cycles that you broke. What was that? What were those 3 cycles that you broke of generational curses? And your family, and your demographic, and your relationship, your lineage. Where did you break generational curses? Do you appreciate what it took to do so? The burdens and sacrifices. We have to reflect on these things so that we have appreciation going forward, so that we have gratitude going forward. That direct motion out of retrograde, those 3 times in Pisces, we go back over the same lesson, and what is with us after that reflection is authority. Knowing that my consent is always with me. And as a co-creator, I authorize what I choose to be subject to. Do I deserve to go through that? Do I deserve to experience that? Do I deserve to put myself through that? In order to indulge in illusions or romanticize ideals that I know is not real or true. But in the moment, it feels right. In the moment, it pacifies. In the moment, it distracts. It numbs the pain. It helps me forget. It's the perfect escape. We were confronted with where our drug was at. Addictive behaviors. Why do I love pain so much? Why do I love misery and depression and regret, sadness and trauma, suffering so much? Because I think this is what I deserve. Something or somebody told me that this is all that I deserve. The first direct motion in each decan, it had to manifest a specific and unique karmic bond that establishes a reflection, a karmic bond that establishes a reflection. So this happened in 3 phases. First decan Pisces, second decan Pisces, third decan Pisces. The first direct motion in each decan presented you with a karmic bond of a reflector. Someone who reflects back to you, or a circumstance that reflects back to you, your refusal of self-love, your rejection of peace, your abandonment of boundaries, your fear to confront and confess what is really going on inside, and the distractions that you found to hide away from it. Anything but be alone. Anything but be isolated. Anything but sit in silence. My thoughts are scary. My inner child talks to me when I'm alone. My inner soul, it has so much to say. But everything that they have to say to me, it demands change. And I don't know how to change. Or I can't brave what it takes to change. Do we remember these things? What are we willing to give? What are we willing to do to feel like we belong and not rejected? To feel like somebody loves me, even though I know this person doesn't love me. But the romanticized acts of what I think is love, it's there. The words of affirmation are there. It has to be real, right? They're saying all the right things and doing all the right things. And this is where we learn that there's a difference between authenticity and performance. And performance is very sweet. It's very flavorful. It triggers the dopamine, the serotonin, the oxytocin, all of the E's. Venus is exalted in Pisces. She is mother of the E's. Anything for that hit. I just need that hit. It's like a crack rock. You keep going back to it. It ruins your life. It robs you of everything that you have. It destroys you. It flings you down from your status. It causes you to not even trust yourself anymore. It makes a liar of you. I recite these things so that you do not lose gratitude for where you're going, appreciation for where you are headed, gratitude for what is about to now pour into your life. Be thankful because you suffered to learn these things. Learn He obedience through the things that He suffered. Saturn. We learn how threatening it could be for someone to say, if you don't do such and such, I will withhold my love. I will threaten you with rejection. I will threaten you with shame and insults. I will laugh at you. I'll call you names. I'll change the way that I treat you. The other person knows you're codependent. The other person knows you're clingy, so-called. The other person knows. You haven't learned how to be by yourself in peace. You have to own someone. You have to control someone. You have to have many answers, demands, or you walk around insecure. You have to have no doubts or questions at all that this person is yours and they will never go away. But who are you at war at? Is it that person? Or is it the attempt to avoid what traumatized you very long ago? Now, clarification becomes so important. Give me answers. Give me information. Give me the knowing. Tell me. Promise me. Declare. Let me know that what we have will never change. Who can promise that? As life is about change. Everything changes. Forms dissolve. Have we learned how to connect without assuming attachments? Have we learned that I am responsible for my happiness, for my peace, for my joy, for my wholeness? I am. I can't assign that to someone else and say, sit right here, don't move, and make me happy. Stay right here and make me feel loved. Don't turn your attention anywhere else. Focus fully on me and take all of my concern away that I will ever be alone. No. That's not anyone's responsibility. It's yours. Loneliness has nothing to do with who's around you. You can be lonely in a crowd. You can be lonely sitting right next to the person that you're married to, the person who is your blood, your kith, your kin, your friend. Loneliness is about the depth of connection that is not there. And the basis of that connection is the inner child, not another person. If you do not have that basis, you will assign the responsibility of that to another person. You will remain lonely until you have bonded with your inner child. You will remain unhappy until your inner child becomes the light of your heart. We all need intimacy. We need connections. We need others. It's part of our well-being. But we can't consume others. And we cannot allow ourselves also to be consumed. the demands, the pressure, the anxiety that we inflict upon each other to perform in such ways. And eternally, we remain dissatisfied. Why does it take so much to be happy? Why does it take so much for you to be content? Why? No matter what the other person does or says, you're discontent, you're unhappy, you're dissatisfied. It's not enough. You need more of their time. You need more of their energy. You need more of their feedback. You need more of affirmations. You need more assurance. Can you not see that this is a drug addiction? It's no different than a needle in your veins. It's no different than alcoholism. The bottom line is still dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin. The bottom line. And you have to beat it out of the other person to keep priming this chemical imbalance in the self, manipulated by the state of conscious and heart. But we have to get to the root of the matter, and the root of man and woman is spirit. It's a spiritual crisis. And here you are surrounded by all these medications that you're taking, antidepressants and so on and so forth. None of it will replace the essential need to bond with inner child. How you treat inner child is how your relationships will treat you. What you withhold from inner child is what others will withhold from you. What you overlook and neglect and abandon with inner child, the same with you. That woman and that man is not the source of your happiness, the source of your joy. They are not the source of your peace and contentment. They are meant for you to share joy with, to share peace with, to share your contentment and wholeness with, not produce it through them. I hope you understand. All of us, before Saturn taught us, healed us through these karmic processes, we were coercive in our approach to the seventh house, coercive in our contracts that we lend to others, that we offer to others. With a gun in our hand, sign here. With some threat or duress or pressure that we inflict, come into my life, lock the door behind you, Love is sweeter when you allow freedom. It doesn't mean anything if it's not through freedom. She wants to call you. He wants to visit you. She wants to spend time with you. He wants to embrace you. If it's not out of their own free will that they're inspired to do this, what does it mean? And we're looking for closure. Your closure is already expressed, but you don't want it to be true. So you can't accept the closure that is already there. You roll up your sleeve. I'll fix this person. I'll fix them. I'll fix it. I'll fix them. No, you control them is what you mean. You're on a mission to control someone so you can get your drugs. You got your bonnet and your slippers on in the middle of the night, running the streets behind someone so you can get your drugs. We're not meant to stay alone. We're not meant to just be by ourselves all throughout life. But this is a result that we keep getting in the name of what we're supposed to learn at the South Node Virgo, and that is narcissism. Projection of our low self-esteem. And that low self-esteem, because through the shadow expressions of Virgo, we have thrown ourselves out with the bathwater through self-observation that says we're supposed to be perfect. In your attempts to be so perfect, you utterly fail. To be so flawless, you fail miserably. But your pride won't allow you to admit that it's unattainable. But the internet tells you that it's attainable. That really pretty girl who just made a video told you that it's attainable. That guy who's surrounded by all types of muscle cars and fancy watches told you that it's attainable. And you believed it. And you curse yourself. You looked in the mirror and you said, you're not good enough. You're a failure. But because you could not confess it, that that's what you did, you go around projecting it on other people. Hey, you're not perfect. You don't have this and you can't do that, so I'm going to write you off. I'm going to cut you off. You have to be perfect. And here we go with this culture of these ridiculous standards. Especially American females. I said it. I said it. You know I'm here to tell you the truth. And no, it's not the case. Oh, guys do it too. Guys do it too. Yes. But let's not pretend like it wasn't engineered to be a cultural standard that women produced in America. Demonstrated by the African American female. It's the infallible truth that what the African American female does, all women do it. What the African American male does, All males do it. We are the foundation of global culture and trends, even in the fucked up character that we sometimes can have. We are imitated, we are copied, and nobody will ever change that. But there's things about us that should not have been imitated. The ridiculous standards and expectations that we have of others is only an admittance and exposure of our own defeat, of our own inadequacies, of our own insecurities. We are admitting it, the low self-esteem, in such high prescriptions. You have to have this and do this and do this and do that. And ultimately, what happens? You end up by yourself. You end up alone. Because the truth is that you already told yourself that that is all you deserve. So your soul ends up using your body as a useful idiot to get the result of your subconscious programming, not your conscience attempts. Narcissism is a very empty, it's an empty vessel's claim. They look amazing on the outside, mind-blowing, sparkling. They glitter with the light of Venus, the deceptive light, the luciferic light, the fool's gold. Everything about them looks so flawless on the outside, dazzling beauty, striking beauty, spellbinding beauty. But inside, they are bankrupt, lost, confused, but good actors. Lost and confused, discontent, but good performers. We had to get to the real. Because this could not continue on, the division between man and woman. Some of you who followed me for long enough remember that I did make the announcement 3 months ago that the war between man and woman is now over. But just because it was over didn't mean that we didn't have to heal in that aftermath. And we are. This was part of it. That war began with the Gemini-Mars retrograde of polarization between Venus and Mars. It ended with South Node Libra. Understand, it is the number 9 South Node Virgo that purges the catalyst that was to teach us this lesson. Please listen carefully to how I just said that. Venus exalted in Pisces. She now goes behind Saturn in order to bring in what we were not yet prepared for, to bring in what we only would have ruined if we did not learn these lessons. She's here to bring in what we have always longed for of the 12th house, what we have always hoped for of the 12th house. She's here to bring in the acceptance of our knowing that cosmically we were born to deserve the illumination of that 12th house, the favorable expressions of that 12th house. But because of our sufferings, humiliation, and undoings, we got to compassion. We got to empathy. By compassion and empathy, it becomes personal. It becomes a conviction. What we must do with that which Venus rewards us with. That we will not serve ourselves with it. We will serve humanity with it. We will serve those who remind us of what we suffer. There could be details that we overlooked in these 2 years at Pisces. There could be things where we fumbled the ball. We made mistakes, errors. We left some things undone. We have some regrets. Whatever the case may be, in these 3 phases of Pisces Saturn transit, Mercury is going to go down the time portal of the past and bring forward wherever those missed opportunities were. And what Mercury will present is the crisis or a combination of crises to resolve so that our receptivity and so that the value and comprehension of what's coming in can be stabilized. Without Mercury retrograde, we could stand to ruin what's coming. There could be some tripwires in the way, obstacles, liabilities. As Mercury slows down to station retrograde, we will become fully aware of what this crisis is. Anytime we have the Mercury retrograde, the crisis becomes very evident. It becomes very clear what the theme of Mercury retrograde is about. I warn you, never say out of your mouth, I can't wait till this is over. Do not do that. Because when you fix your mouth to say that, you are no longer present. You can't heal something if you're not present. You have to be present. That means you have to have acceptance. Never say about the undesirable, I cannot wait till this is over. No, be present. Feel it. Feel it. You're meant to feel it. Feel it and stay present with what you feel. Pay attention to it. Study it. Receive it. The second week is where the knowing comes. Clarity comes on why it must be. What is it serving? What is the opportunity on the other side? Where in the past was my spiritual arrangement that had me to miss this opportunity or cause this infliction upon myself? The third week is when you are in solution mode of the retrograde. Because you understand why it is, what it's serving, and what's on the other side of it. And by direct motion, you will find that you have resolved the matter, you have fixed it, you have healed it. And along with that, there's always a blessing that follows along with it. Complementary. This works in unison with Venus. This is a quality assurance. It's an assurance policy on what's coming. Understand? Venus is a victory lap. It's like a homecoming. You're being celebrated for what you endured, for what you suffered. You're being rewarded for that concentration, for that maturity that you have reached. Saturn gives us maturity. Now that you are mature enough, what can you be trusted with? What can be entrusted to your care, to your stewardship at Pisces? You can't even imagine, but it's abundant. It's exactly what you need, and it's also what you want. But you should cherish it. You should not take it for granted. And you especially should remember what it took. Venus is going to show you that because you have learned many things, you now have the power to be one with others without being consumed, to unite with others without selling your soul or your identity, without denying yourself or suppressing your identity. You now can dream with others without losing your autonomy and authenticity. You can receive love and give love without assumptions or inappropriate expectations, without control, fear, anxiety. It's a healthy place to be. And Venus is exalted here, so it is sure to bring joy and pleasure into your life at an intimate level. We're about to find out what bliss really is in the midst of our challenges in life. Don't take this back into a relapse of addictive behaviors, control, assumptions, entitlement, and arrogance. Virgo wants to throw the baby out with the bathwater. One little thing, and you're gone. One little thing, and you discard. But Pisces has a different approach. Unlike Virgo that sees everything that's wrong, Pisces sees everything that's right. But with Pallas Athena reminding us of the patterns, where sometimes we overlooked what was critical, what was essential, and what we should not compromise or negotiate upon, but stand firm. We learned many things. Healthy connections, not toxic attachments and attempts at control of others. You're not supposed to be by yourself. There are seasons when we are to be by ourselves. But the decades of this feminist celebration of girl, be by yourself, misery loves company. Be careful of who you're listening to. And some people may take me the wrong way, and I don't mind it because I am who I am and I'm used to that. But I warn you all, be careful of listening to the advice of African American females who happen to be the mother of your ideals of yourselves through feminism. Because they too, as a collective, have a lot of healing to do out of the delusions and assumptions of their own perfections. And I know it doesn't make me popular to say it, But this is a time where you have to ask yourself, have I been idolizing, have I been romanticizing the wrong standards and ideals for myself as a woman? It's wonderful to admire African American women, but you have to be very careful and you have to use discernment on what you're adopting from them and why. All of their influence is not good influence. I know that there are many who are ready to write me off for saying that. I don't mind because I know in months or years, you're going to run into that clarity. I am used to people taking the wrong assumptions about me, and I'm okay with that. I will be just fine. But you will see for yourself. That sisterhood has standardized prostitution for themselves. Ill repute, a refusal to self-examination and accountability, deliberate destruction of family unit, weaponization of children. They have reached the extremes of feminism, transactional intimacy, relationships founded on control and consumption. Narcissistic standardization of their own ideals and what they should standardize others upon. The sexual marketplace, a place of transaction and shame. You have got to be careful. The abandonment of morals, modesty, chastity, self-respect. I understand that in this world, African Americans own the imagination of the people. And whether or not you take it directly or indirectly, that is where you got 99% of your personal expression from. And you've got to know this. It's just like consuming food. You don't know where the food came from and you don't know what ingredients is in it until you actually intentionally study and trace back where that shit came from. And when you find out, it may shock you. It may surprise you what's in that food. And it's the same thing with where you're taking your influence from. Who's influencing your behavior, your perception and ideal of yourself? Where did you get that behavior from? Who is the origin of that expression? You've got to be careful. Let me say for those who I know need to hear me say it, I know and you know this is not the case for all African American women. I also know that you know that they have standardized this for their sisterhood. So having said that, charge me, accuse me, write me off. I don't mind. I'm okay with that. Anyway, Venus in Pisces is going to bring mercy for immigrants and illegal immigrant crisis in the West, we're going to see that something comes in to mitigate the situation and bring a sense of civics into the matter, humanity back into the matter. And this is what we can look forward to. What we also can look forward to is your Virgo placement is going to find a greater balance because of the inpour at Pisces. With the guilt removed and with a greater level of trust for yourself, you will find that intimacy is sweeter and love is sweeter and it is closer to you. But don't cross the lines. Connections, not attachments. Wherever you are lacking, you will find abundance. But just remember to be a good steward of this abundance. Put this context into your 12th house. What is that energy about? What is that sign about? What are those planets and aspects about? You will find that your 12th house now becomes an illuminated expression rather than a shadow expression consistent with Saturn's karmic bonds. In hindsight, we should be able to look back and be very proud of what we suffered because it taught us obedience. It taught us accountability. And with accountability in combination to the trine of Cancer Jupiter, we have moral commitment. When you have moral commitment and accountability, you have true freedom. If you take one of those away, you no longer have freedom. You have self-entrapment. I'm going to force fit this last point that I want to make, especially with us as men or males out there. I grew up in a world where it was something shameful concerning males, in a community where people would say, things like, you don't get no pussy or something like that, or you don't get no bitches and, all this other stuff. And we're at a time where we get to change the narrative. We get to decide the narrative. Aquarius Pluto is a time where we get to decide what the narrative is. And we also get to challenge status quo or long-held convictions and beliefs. We get to decide what is shameful or not. And I think that we could reverse what that means. I share a lot about myself, that may be personal if I feel like it can transfer some kind of spiritual value, especially with me being as imperfect as I am. I think it's good for me to share some things about myself from time to time. And I'm someone who learned over the years that I used to allow myself to be controlled by such speech, to be controlled by such ideals at the threat of, shame or different things like that. And what you can do if you consent to that idea as a man is You could bring yourself to ruin. You can complicate your life. You can dishonor your own flesh, dishonor your own body, dishonor your own spirit by, out of shame in your ego, creating cycles in your life of sexual irresponsibility. I'm not asking anybody to be a nun, okay? But I'm a person who, quote unquote, don't get no pussy. You know what I'm saying? It's accessible to me. It's definitely something that I could choose. But why do so? With strangers, people who have not subjected themselves to an equal level of discipline or self-honoring that I've been blessed to find myself in over the many years. Why share yourself with just anybody in that sense, in that light? Why not choose who you would trust for that? And I think it's time that, as men, we should give back those assumptions and judgments. Give it back. Let people who are out there running loose be for each other. And for people who found more respect for themselves, let them invest themselves into each other. And I think it's worth to share that idea, because this time around, I think that men, because of the catalyst of feminism, were forced into self-reflection, bowing out of the sexual market. And if it happened to affect you in a way where you found yourself not sexually active, it's a blessing. It's an opportunity. And you should be careful of overlooking that blessing and ruining it for yourself. Is it really worth it? That you've honored yourself, and here comes somebody else along who doesn't honor themselves, and you're making synastry, you're sexually connected, you're making soul ties with someone whose frequency doesn't add up to the current of your frequency. How will that affect you? Now that person is transferring burdens, obstacles, challenges that are not from your energy grid, that's not from your point of evolution, that's not from your season of growth and enlightenment. And you can find yourself plunging in your value. You can find yourself plunging in your power. Give all these things back. Or what people out here are telling you is shame. If you start treating yourself like that as a man, honoring and really respecting yourself, when you hear other men out here bragging about how many women they run through, how many girls in a week they slept with, or who, I hit this and I hit that, you start to see the hypocrisy in yourself in hindsight. You start to see where you became a shameless, self-oppressive vessel. And you also start to see that because you became that, that becomes your equal. in women. I want you to think about that. If you give yourself the chance to come out of that spirit, then you naturally will attract to yourself those women or that woman. You know, you guys out there know I'm just not convinced, okay, that most men are monogamous. You heard me say that before. But however many women you choose to focus with, okay, or to be intimately connected with in an honorable, noble sense, uh, they're of your energy grid. They are of your spirit. They're of your likeness. And when you do get intimate with them, you're not dropping and plunging your value. You're not dropping and plunging the frequency that you suffered to quicken. And we really should take value in that. If you haven't went that direction yet, I want to encourage you to do so. Turn around. There's nothing good and there's nothing to brag about being promiscuous. There's nothing to brag about. There's nothing good about just wilding out here fornicating with any whoever, however, why. You know what I mean? And so, since we're on this subject of exalted love and intimacy, I want us to consider that. Understand?